Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today, I'm really excited for this very long-awaited video. I'm going to share with you today everything I know about the Louis Vuitton Speedy. This is the most iconic bag from Louis Vuitton and really my favorite bag, I think, in my entire collection. So I'm really excited to share with you my thoughts and little tidbits of history that I've learned along the way studying this line and this particular bag and silhouette. So I'm going to be sharing with you a detailed review of these bags, comparing the Bandouliere versus the classic Speedy, and also comparing the different canvases and prints, in addition to letting you know the differences between the older versions and the newer versions as well. So if you want to hear about everything at least I know about the Speedy and love about the Speedy, definitely keep on watching. For those of you who might be new here, thanks so much for checking this video out. I'm a full-time working mom, and in my spare time I really love making these videos on fashion, beauty, mommy lifestyle, in addition to my experience on Poshmark as well. So if those kind of things sound at all interesting, please consider checking out my other videos linked down below, and please also consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate the support. So again, today I'm going to be sharing with you the highlights of everything that I know about the Speedy and everything I love about this bag. As a quick disclaimer, I am by no means an expert on Louis Vuitton or an expert on the Speedy. I'm just a normal working mom and giving you my perspective on this bag and my thoughts about why I love it, some cons from these bags, and also kind of a little bit of story behind the history and also why I decided to purchase these for myself. I know when I started looking for luxury handbags, including the Speedy, I watched a ton of YouTube videos and learned so much about the bag and what might work or might not work out for me before I even went to the store at all. So I'm hoping that this video can kind of do the same for you if you're considering purchasing this bag, but by no means am I considered an expert. I just wanted to give you my own personal opinion. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of history about the Speedy. Not too long, this is not meant to be a history lesson, but I honestly love Louis Vuitton. It's my favorite fashion house, and I love doing research and thinking about the history behind some of these iconic bags. So as you all are probably aware, I definitely would say that the Louis Vuitton Speedy is the line's most iconic handbag. And it is just gorgeous and recognizable, I'd say, everywhere. So as you can see here, with the Speedy's iconic shape, it really is meant to be a mini version of their iconic luggage, especially their keep-all version. And this first Speedy was introduced in the size 30 centimeters, which I will talk about in terms of sizing in a few minutes. And it also was introduced in 1930. So the classic Speedy 30 was introduced in 1930, which is this exact bag here. And it wasn't until the late 1950s that Audrey Hepburn actually requested Louis Vuitton to make a little smaller version. So that's when the Speedy 25 was introduced. Now they have many more sizes, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, but this is the iconic original Speedy 30 here in the classic style. So currently they have many different sizes, and these include the Nano, which is the itty bitty baby version, an adorable version of the Speedy. They also have, of course, the Speedy 25, Speedy 30, Speedy 35, and Speedy 40. And beyond that, of course, you can look at the actual true luggage sizes, which would be the keep-alls. So in terms of sizing, what they're talking about is when you say Speedy 30, in centimeters, the length is 30 centimeters. Speedy 25, the length would be 25 centimeters in case you're curious. And these bags were also introduced in many different types of fabrics, materials, and leather. So these are the two canvas versions. This is the monogram canvas, and this is the damier bean version. They also have the damier azur, which is the same pattern, but in the white or ivory and gray color. And they also make this in several different leathers, including empreinte leather, including epi leather, and also different fabrics like denim, and many different special design prints or limited editions, including the monogram, where you can actually customize the bag with your own initials. One of the other major features of these bags that you'll notice when you look in the pre-loved markets and also when you go into boutiques is that there is the classic Speedy version, as I mentioned, that originally was introduced. And then in 2011, Louis Vuitton introduced this Speedy Bandouliere or Bandouliere version, where it has this extra strip of leather and these D-rings where you can attach an included crossbody strap. So my strap is in the inside of the bag here, but this is the adjustable crossbody strap that you can actually attach onto the ends of the bag here. And this will allow so much more versatility, as I'll get into later on in this video. But again, this was introduced in about 2011, this newer version, but you can tell there is a difference between the classic Speedy and this Speedy, of course, by the look with the strap, but also this extra piece of leather on D-rings on the side there. And the other difference that came along with the Bandouliere versions is it has the double zipper, as I'll show you in a second as well. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit of a tour of these bags, and then I will show you some wear and tear features on them. So I'm going to start off with the classic Speedy 30, as you can see here. And this particular bag was my one of my early, I'll say, luxury bag purchases, and I did do a video on tips and tricks to buying your first luxury handbag, which I'll link down below in case you're curious. And I talk a lot more about why I decided to select this bag and why I really love it as an entry-level designer bag purchase. So as you'll see in that video, I purchased this particular Speedy 30 in Las Vegas when I was on vacation well over 12 years ago. So I've had this bag for quite a long time. Again, it was one of my first luxury handbag purchases. It was definitely a considered purchase because I had never bought anything so expensive before for myself, but it was kind of a rite of passage. I love Louis Vuitton and their handbags, and to me, you just can't get any more classic Louis Vuitton than this. So I had to make this my first grown-up Louis Vuitton purchase. So I want to share with you a little bit of the features of this bag, and as you can see here, it's made out of the monogram canvas, which again I think is the classic canvas in this style, and it has the vachetta leather trim here. It also has these pieces of leather that attach the handle to the canvas. These are called chaps, and it has these brass rivets. This particular version, because it's over 12 years ago, is considered the older model, and I'll get into details in a few minutes about older versus newer models. But on this model, there is a single zipper pull, and it has the leather pull here, but it's only finished on one end here. It also has the little tab here on the side, to which I have attached the Louis Vuitton lock, which comes with all of their Speedy bags, and it has the LV on it. It also has the leather trimming, as you can see on the sides here, and it is a single piece of canvas, meaning that there's one piece of canvas that wraps around the bag, and you can see it's a continuous piece, such that on one side of the bag the LVs are upright, as you can see here, and when you flip it around they should be upside down because it is just one piece of canvas wrapped continuously. On the side of this version, it has Louis Vuitton Paris and where it was made, so mine was made in the USA, as you can see there. And then when you go inside of the bag, it's essentially just one large pit, as you've heard, I'm sure. It has the dust bag here, which I will take out. And then it has the huge pit or empty hole there. And it has the area where the chaps attach here. And there is one D-ring there, which you can attach your keys or something to if you'd like. It has, on this version, a slip pocket that's lined in the vachetta. And on the inside, there is a wipeable type of lining in the inside of the pocket here on this version. And then I have my keys in the little box here it came with. And in case you're curious, there are date codes on every Louis Vuitton bag, and the Speedy has it underneath the flat pocket here. And if you can see here, there's the date code. So those are some features to look for when you're looking for authenticity in these bags. And I'm going to take a minute just to share with you also a little tour of the Bandouliere version. So this version again was introduced in 2011, at least the Bandouliere style. And it's really nice because it does allow you so much more versatility. Again, it has this extra piece of leather here that's different from the classic Speedy, and the D-rings to which you attach these adjustable straps. And there are several different adjustable sections here, and you can take out the middle piece too if you want to make it more of a shoulder bag. Otherwise, the lines of the Speedy essentially are the same here. It has the leather trimming here, and it has the chaps. There are some differences in the newer versus older versions, as I'll talk about in a few minutes, but it has the leather handles again. And on the Bandouliere versions, as I mentioned, there is this double zipper here. If you remember on the classic Speedy a minute ago, it had a single zipper with a leather pull. These do not have the leather pull, but it has the double zippers, and it has the little sections here where you can potentially put a lock through. Just jumping into the bag, it's essentially the same on the inside, except there is a beautiful pop of red, and this is true for the damier bean version, as you can see here. It also has the D-ring on the side, as the classic did. And I will pull out a little pouch, which has my lock and key in here for this bag. The pocket on here is a slip pocket as well on this version. And this one does not have a true wipeable type lining in it, but it is a slip pocket that is lined in the coated leather that the e-bean bags have. And again, if you flip up the pocket, you will see the date code on this particular bag. So this Damier Bean Speedy Bandouliere I purchased about 4 years ago. I purchased it from my local Louis Vuitton boutique. So with these particular bags, I purchased both from the boutiques. I have not purchased a pre-love Louis Vuitton bag before, which I'll talk about why at the end of this video, but these are both purchased directly from the boutiques. Okay, so that was a little bit of a tour of the Speedy bags themselves. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about differences between the new version and the older original classic Speedy version, in case you're curious. And as you all know, I've really gotten into reselling as well. And if you're curious about reselling these types of bags or purchasing as well pre-love bags for yourselves, it's nice to know some of the differences in terms of these bags and when they were made and came out. And I thought I would share a little bit of that with you. And I know when I was looking at these bags, I was a little confused as to why some had some features and some had different features. And of course, everyone's always worried about bags that are not authentic. And if you can personally tell whether they're authentic or not, I think it would make you feel a lot more comfortable when you're out there purchasing, especially in the pre-love market. So hopefully these little tidbits and comparisons between the older and newer version will help you out as you're looking for bags yourselves. So for the older classic Speedy version here, there are a couple differences from the newer model. So not only are these bags different because it has the bandouliere on this one and not on this one, this is also the older model. Again, I purchased this over 12 years ago, and this is the newer model and has some newer features since I only purchased it about 4 years ago. So the first difference between the old and new model that came out about 5 years or so ago was the differences in the chaps. And Louis Vuitton, as far as I'm aware, slowly rolled out some of these changes in their models, such that some bags have a few features and some may not, if you purchase them around the 2015-2016 period. So the older version, original version, looked like this. So chaps, again, are these leather pieces. And as you can see here, these chaps are flat, and the stitching goes underneath the rivets there. So on the newer models, again, newer models would be approximately 2015-2016 period. As you can see here, the chaps are puffy. And the other difference is that the stitching goes on top of the rivets. So let me just show you side by side for comparison. If you just look at the chaps, the classic original Speedy has a flat chap with the stitching below the rivets. The newer version, again produced around 2015 or so, has the puffy chaps and the stitching goes above the rivet. So that's one of the differences between the newer and the older models. And one of the other differences on the newer model of the Speedies, or on the classic Speedies, again where you have this leather zipper tab pull, on my older version, as you can see, there's unfinished leather on one side. However, on the newer versions, there is the finished leather on both sides of the zipper puller. Okay, so after the upgrades in the chaps rolled out, then later that year and rolling into the next year, Louis Vuitton also changed the interior pocket design. So what I mean by that is the pocket on the inside of these bags originally had the slip pocket that was lined in the leather. But it was just a slip pocket, as I've shown you. The newer versions of the Speedy have the zipper pocket. So although this bean bag, as I mentioned, was purchased about 4 years ago and have the newer version of the chaps, I got a particular bag where it was kind of a hybrid, because my pocket on my bean, as I've showed you, does not have a zipper and it has the classic slip pocket design. So this bag was one of those hybrid bags where it had the new chaps but the older version of the pocket. Speedy's purchased now should have both the puffy chaps and the zipper pocket. So that's just an interesting little fun fact of these bags, such that around 4 or 5 years ago, if you purchased these Speedies, Louis Vuitton took a while to roll out their full newer versions, such that you could have gotten bags like I did, where there was a little bit of a hybrid of these features with the newer chaps, but the older version of the pocket. Currently though, all pockets, if you purchase them now, I believe, probably should have the zipper on the inside of the pocket. So again, because the Speedies are really known by their sizes, we call them 25, 30, 35, 40 for instance, I want to touch a little bit about the sizes of these bags. So again, both of these are Speedy 30s. And when you say 30, what you're referring to is the length of the bag is 30 centimeters. In inches, I can give you a little bit more details about the dimensions according to the Louis Vuitton website. The length here in inches measures 11.8 inches. The height is 8.3 inches and the depth is 6.7 inches. So this is the most popular size, or the Speedy 30 is the most popular size of Speedies they sell. And I think it's just a great Goldilocks size bag. And that's why I went for Speedy 30s when I purchased these. I don't own any other Speedies. I only have these two Speedies. And I decided to purchase both of them in the 30s because I just love this size. I think it's the perfect everyday handbag size. For going to work, I like to use a tote, such as my Neverfull, and I did do a full Neverfull review, which I will link down below in case you're curious. But for a good everyday bag on the weekends, especially traveling, you just can't beat the Speedy. I think it has great security on the top that the tote like the Neverfull does not have, and it's just a classic style and design. It can carry basically almost as much as the Neverfull, not quite as many bulky things, but it carries a ton of stuff in here as well. So in my opinion, I think 30 for me is a great size. I don't think the 25 would probably be as functional for me. Again, I have 4 young children, so I need to carry a lot of junk in my purse. So if anything, I get a future Speedy, I may consider the 35. But for now, the 30s for me are just the perfect everyday handbag size. Okay, so next I wanted to talk to you briefly about what fits inside. So again, I mentioned this is the perfect everyday handbag size, so you want to make sure you can carry your everyday handbag things, and that you can. I will say that this pocket here is not that functional for a day-to-day usage, and that's because it's pretty small. As you can see, a standard cell phone, at least cell phones these days, will not fit in there. So I just end up putting some odds and ends, maybe a little card case or a key holder will fit in there. But beyond that, not much. Maybe a lipstick would fit, of course. Other than that, there's just this open pit, as you all know probably if you've done any research at all about the Speedies. And some people think of that as a con. In fact, they even sell, of course, purse organizers that fit the Speedy perfectly. I did originally try out some purse organizers with these bags, but they just didn't work for me. As I said in my Neverfull video, where I feel the same thing about purse organizers, I think it's great because it does provide some organization, but I don't like what it does to the structure of the bag. To me, I really like how, although this is considered a structured bag, I'd say, I like a little bit of slouch. I don't want a total huge droopy bag, but a little bit of slouch for me is something that I like and don't mind. And more so, I just like how it stays relatively soft and no significant amount of shape or form to the body of the bag. When you put in a purse organizer, oftentimes it'll have a little bit of indentation you can see on the bag, something like this. So it'll stick out, it'll be very, very boxy. And I just don't personally like the lines and how it looks like that. Let me just say that I know a lot of people love purse organizers for these bags because they are open pits, which I totally get. But just for me personally, I just don't think they work for me. I rather prefer using little pouches to organize my things in my bag and then just throwing things in there. I think that's what's really fun about handbags. So that tends to be what I do. So in terms of what fits, everything else you really need for a day is going to fit in this bag. It holds quite a bit of capacity, and because you have the security, you can really load it up. Sometimes in my Neverfull, I get worried about loading it too high to the brim because I worry something's just going to fall out. But in this case, because there's a zipper, I really can load it up. So in my personal opinion, I think that's a huge difference here, where although the silhouette is overall a little smaller than the Neverfull, you are able to hold pretty much the same amount just because I feel more secure loading it up all the way. In terms of protecting the bag, as I've said in the Neverfull video too, for all of my luxury bags, I tend to do this little trick where I take the dust bag that it came with, and this is the original Speedy, so this is kind of a vintage dust bag, it says Louis Vuitton on it, and then I just fold it up and I line the bottom of the bag with the dust bag. So I do that for many reasons. One is I never lose the dust bag for that particular bag because it's always with me. It's very light, so it doesn't add much weight to the bag. But more importantly, I love it because it lines the bottom of the bag. So if anything, where I get wear on this bag is in the creases on the bottom and in the corners. Of course, dust collects, whatever's in your bag kind of collects in those areas. So if you protect the bottom of your bag a little bit by the dust bag, I think that really helps. And then every now and again, I'll take out the dust bag and kind of shake it out, and the dust just falls out. So I think that's a nice little tip if you're interested in kind of how I keep the bottom of my bags clean. I really like that idea. So in terms of what fits in here, again, I'm not going to show you everything I put in this bag. It's not really a what's in my bag video, but it does hold all of my essentials. Of course, cell phone, wallets, keys, diapers, baby wipes, all that stuff fits in here pretty comfortably. And just for a size reference, I'm going to show you one of the biggest things that I put in there. So this is my Erin Condren Life Planner, just for a frame of reference. And this is actually approximately the size of a full-size iPad as well, in case you're curious. So because this is an everyday bag, I need to carry around everyday things like an iPad and such large or bulky things like this planner. So I love this Erin Condren planner, and I use it for all my family's to-dos. So I need to kind of carry it around when I go places. So as you can see here, it's going to be a tight fit, which it is, but it definitely fits inside. So sometimes these bulkier items you put in vertically first like this, and then you can just adjust it and it fits in pretty nicely. So I am able to comfortably keep this in here like this. It does misshapen the bag a little bit, but if you put other things in here, it's not very bad. And as you can see, it's just laying in there, and there's still a ton of extra room. So the planner does fit pretty comfortably, and for me at least, when I go to take it out, it's not too cumbersome. I just quickly lift it out. And as you can see here, it comes out relatively quickly. So it holds a full-size Erin Condren planner and also an iPad. So I think, again, it carries really what you need to carry. So in terms of capacity, I mean, really, it's not a huge issue if you like an overall, I'd say, medium to larger size bag. I think the 30 is just perfect. Okay, so next I wanted to go over a little bit of wear and tear features for these bags. And again, I've had them for different amount of time or years, so the wear and tear is going to be different, but I will show you a little bit about my wear and tear. So I'm going to start with my classic Speedy. Again, this one is 12 years old, over 12 years old. It's just really crazy to remember how long ago it was when I first purchased this bag. I remember I was so nervous walking to the boutique. I had seen somebody else carrying this bag, and I said, all right, I need to get that bag. So I went in there, and I'd never been in a luxury boutique before, so I was really nervous. But of course, the customer service is just excellent in these boutiques, so I felt very comfortable right away. But I was totally a novice, had no idea what these things were, and I just fell in love with this bag. So this is 12 years old. As you can see, my Vachetta looks pretty nice, and the reason is I don't carry this one all that much, which I'll talk about at the end of this video, but I just love the look of it. And I will show you the bits of wear and tear I have. So again, when I first purchased this, I didn't carry it at all because I was so nervous, but then I started carrying it over the several years after that. And back then, I really didn't know that leather could stain or spot, so I did actually carry this in the rain several times and didn't realize it. So the nice thing about it is, even though I got some rain spots, they tended to fade out over time. So one of the major features, of course, of the Vachetta is that it can spot pretty easily. So I do have some spots. I don't know if you can see that here. And there are a few spots on all of the Vachetta spots here. But overall, I would say that the Vachetta looks really nice. And part of the reason why I love Vachetta so much is I really like how it ages and gets a darker patina on it. So that's what I think is really appealing about this Vachetta, but it also does spot. And as you'll see on a lot of Speedies, if you look at the pictures, the handles also get quite dark, especially the part where you're holding it, especially on classic Speedies, because this is the only way to carry it. So if you have it in your hand, the oils on your hands will darken the handles, especially in the middle section here. And I'm not personally a huge fan of having the dark patina just in one area, but that's just the nature of this handbag design. I really love the more uniform patina, but these bags tend to get extra dark in the areas you carry them, of course. But overall, besides the patina wear and spots, I think overall this bag has held up really well. But again, that's largely because I haven't carried it all that much. But I think overall it's done really well. The canvas as well has no significant wear. So that looks good. And then the ends here, there's a little bit of corner wear, but not much at all. I think overall it looks really good still. The other feature that wears, of course, is the brass. So the lock here, as you can see the LV on there, which is etched, but it definitely shows some brass wear. And the boutique can polish these things, they've said, if you'd like to take it in. I just haven't, but the brass definitely tarnishes some. The zipper still is beautiful, and Louis Vuitton's known for their buttery zippers, of course. And the inside just looks so pristine. And again, I haven't carried this all that much as a disclaimer, but it just looks really nice. There's really no significant wear on this bag. On the inside, I would say, and the dark lining definitely helps with that too. So overall, I'd say wear and tear on this bag is pretty excellent. Let me quickly show you the wear and tear on the Bandouliere. So even though I got this only 4 years ago, I carry this so much. It's really my workhorse bag, as I'll get into when I talk about the end of this video, but it still doesn't show much wear and tear. Overall, I've carried this more than my classic Speedy. And on the bean version, there is the coated leather, so it's definitely more carefree. You don't have the patina or water spots, such that I have carried this in the rain many times, and there really aren't any water spots. You can see the chaps still look good. The leather on the handles look good. The hardware, I think, still looks pretty nice. There is a little bit of difference in the colorway of the hardware, as you'll see in some reviews of this bag, such as the D-rings look a little bit different in terms of colorway than the actual hardware on the strap in terms of shininess. So that's one thing that often happens with these bags. But overall, the wear is really not significant, and the straps as well, I think, look really nice. Oftentimes you'll have a little bit of fraying of the stitches, especially on the bean bags, but these actually look okay. There's a little bit of fraying on some of these stitches, but nothing really significant. So overall, I think it has held up quite well. As true for most of bean bags, the main site of wear are on the coated leather pieces, such that you get a lot of wrinkling. So on the Speedy, it's not too bad, but there is some wrinkling. You can see here on the handle. And that's just the nature of the bag and the nature of the coated leather. It's true for my other bean bags as well in different styles. So besides that though, there really isn't significant wear. And again, the canvas looks really pristine, as is the bottom. There are no feet, but because I have the canvas versions, it really doesn't matter to me because you can just wipe them off. And they all look really, really clean and new. The hardware on the zipper pulls also look really nice. And then if you open it up, the inside looks great too. I love the Papa Red, it's beautiful, but see, it's pretty clean in there. No significant amounts of wear, so I think things hold up really well with the Speedies. And I did also forget to mention earlier when I gave you the tour, that if you remember my classic Speedy, the Louis Vuitton Made in USA tag was on one of the little side leather pieces on the outside, but the newer versions, at least the Bandouliere version here I should say, the Louis Vuitton tag is a fabric tag on the inside of the bag. It says Made in USA here. Okay, so now I wanted to just give you a couple of mod shots for these bags and kind of share with you how I like to wear them. Okay, so for your reference, I'm about 5'4" in height, and again, this is the Speedy 30 size. So for the classic version, of course, you don't have as many options. Really, it's just hand carry, crook of your arm. So I often hand carry like this and just leave it hanging as I'm walking. I think this is a gorgeous look, very ladylike and classic. This is what I think of Louis Vuitton Speedy. This is how I picture people carrying it. You can also, of course, carry it in the crook of your arm, which I think is also really classy and just beautiful. So this is what it looks like on the crook of the arm. So I think for me, this really suits my frame pretty well, and I think it's the perfect size for me. But those really are the only ways to wear this bag. It's either crook of the arm or hand carry. But can't get any more classic than this. Okay, and then for the Speedy Bandouliere version, also known as Speedy B, this Speedy B version, there are several different ways of carrying it. Of course, you could remove the straps entirely and carry it with the classic Speedy look. Again, there are differences because the straps on the side will still be there. That's the main difference. But you can carry it just the same way, over the crook of the arm or hand carry. And for the Speedy B, I tend to just leave the strap hanging like this if I'm going to hand carry it or carry it in the crook of the arm. And the reason is, I actually kind of like the look of the strap hanging. I think a lot of people don't, so you kind of remove them. So really I do that just mostly for convenience as well, because if I want to quickly change from crook of the arm to shoulder bag, I want to be able to just quickly flip this up and throw it over my shoulder. I don't want to have to fumble in my bag looking for the strap. So for me, I just go ahead and leave it hanging and just carry it around like this if I'd like to. So of course with the Speedy B, there are several adjustable sections. I have all sections together here, but adjusted in kind of the shortest version. If you want it shorter, you can take off this middle section, and then it'll be just a really nice kind of shoulder bag there, as you can see. But I like to leave both pieces in because I like the option of possible crossbody too. So I do like a long shoulder with the Speedy. I think this looks really great. So oftentimes I will carry it just like this. Or of course, it's great to carry crossbody. So again, I have mine on the shorter version here, but you could definitely adjust it to a longer crossbody for you, especially if you have a longer torso, or if you just like it to hang a little longer. There definitely are more adjustable spaces where you can make it lower. But for me, because this particular length is so versatile in terms of being able to work as a shoulder bag and a crossbody, I just leave it on these particular settings and have a little bit of a higher crossbody version, but then I don't have to change the settings depending on how I want to wear it. So this is what it looks like on me crossbody, and I do wear it quite a bit like this, especially when I'm out with the kids. I don't prefer this look. I think overall for the Speedy, I love the hand carry, crook of the arm look. For me, that's Speedy in my book. But for convenience, I mean, I often have to do this and be hands-free, holding little hands or carrying things. So this definitely works for a crossbody bag. Okay, so just to wrap up this video, I want to share with you guys why I chose these particular bags and why I decided to purchase them new from the boutique, in addition to the biggest pros and cons for each. And at the end, I will definitely tell you which bag of these I would select if I could only pick one. Okay, so first of all, again, I purchased both of these Speedy 30s from the boutiques. Actually, for all of my Louis Vuitton bags thus far that I own, I purchased them all new from the boutique or online. And the reason is, in my opinion, Louis Vuitton really holds their resale value, which is a good thing, of course, but that also means that if you look on the pre-loved market, you don't get a huge discount, at least in my opinion, when you buy pre-loved Louis Vuitton. Sometimes I definitely get when you want to buy pre-loved Louis Vuitton. I mean, any savings these days, of course, helps some, so I definitely get that. But besides that, some people really love the look of a vintage Louis Vuitton bag, and I'm kind of one of those too. I do have a couple of vintage bags, and those, of course, you have to purchase pre-loved. So if I'm buying vintage or want that old worn-in patina look, I think you have to buy in the pre-loved market, obviously. But if you're buying a newer classic style like this, I personally favored purchasing them in boutiques because you don't save a whole lot of money otherwise. And in fact, sometimes at pre-loved markets, these bags are marked up if they're really trendy, popular style. So I just in general purchase bags new from Louis Vuitton for that reason. So pros and cons for these bags, I'm just going to highlight the major ones, and these again are just my opinions. So when you look at the classic Speedy, the major pro in my book is this is iconic Louis Vuitton. And if you love handbags like I do, you have to own a Speedy, especially in the monogram. I mean, that's Louis Vuitton right here. So for me, that's the huge pro. And I love carrying this bag. I think it looks just so classic, iconic. Everyone recognizes this bag. And that's the main reason why I love this bag. I think it's a huge pro if you're a handbag lover. You have to own this in my book. Another pro is that the classic Speedy, at least, is a pretty good level type of price point for an entry-level bag. So although it's definitely not inexpensive by any means, and there always are price increases, nonetheless, this is one of the lower end bags at Louis Vuitton. And to get a very classic style like this at kind of an entry level type of price point, I think is really appealing. So that's another huge pro. So I love the classic Speedy for those reasons. The cons, of course, are what make me have some pros for the Sabine bag. So the major con of the classic Speedy is that it's not versatile. And there are some Speedy purists out there such that they will never own a Bandouliere bag because that's not a Speedy in their book. Speedy is a classic Speedy. But I also need versatility, at least for me. So that's why I think the Bandouliere version, which again came out around 2011, is key and essential, and it was a game changer for the Speedy. So this particular bag for me is my most used bag in my entire collection because I love the look of it. It carries so much. It has a zipper, a secure entry, and it's so versatile with that strap. So this adds so much. It also adds some to the price point, of course, so it's definitely not an entry-level price point, I would say, for the Bandouliere version, but it's worthwhile, I think, saving up. If this is something you truly want, I think the strap is essential. And some people tend to add their own strap on the classic Speedy, like in these little areas here, you can attach a little custom made or strap from another bag you have. But really, to be honest, I would get nervous about that because I don't think this bag is meant to hold a strap, such that if you do something like this, it may wear on the chaps and the canvas a little more than you would like. But this bag is designed to hold the weight on the straps here. So I love the Bandouliere version for that reason, just the versatility. Also, part of the reason why this is a huge pro for me is the selection of materials that I chose. And again, this is a reflection of the materials, not necessarily the design of the bag, but this is a carefree bag, my most carefree bag actually, because the canvas of course is wipeable. The coated leather is also wipeable. It doesn't show any water spots like the Keta does. So this is really almost an indestructible bag with normal wear and tear, I would say. For that reason, I think it has a huge pro. The con, I would say, is the price point is a little higher. Some people, I would say, think the strap is a little bit cumbersome, and it's not the most comfortable, at least in the bean version. And it's not what you would think of in terms of the classic Speedy. I mean, the original Speedy didn't come like this. If you're a handbag purist, I can get why this just wouldn't do it for you. But for me, those are the huge pros of the Bandouliere version. So overall, I am so happy that I have both of these in my collection for the reasons that I mentioned. They each have their own huge pros. But if I had to pick just one of these Speedies, and I could only purchase one at the time, no question, hands down, I would go for the Bandouliere version. So even though I love handbags, like I mentioned, just the amount of versatility this strap adds is a game changer, like I mentioned. And for me, this is my most used handbag, period. And for that reason, I just have to go with this bag. So the Speedy Bandouliere 30 to me is really my idea of a perfect handbag, especially in the bean version because of the wear and tear and the carefree level of it. So I think that finally does it. That's everything, at least the highlights that I know of the Louis Vuitton Speedy. As you can tell, I love the silhouette. I love the fashion house, but I particularly love the Speedy. I think it's iconic Louis Vuitton. So if you're a true Louis Vuitton handbag lover, you have to own a Speedy. And in my opinion, that's the bag to own from Louis Vuitton. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit about tidbits and tricks that I learned along the way studying the Louis Vuitton Speedy, in addition to learning a little bit more about wear and tear and what fits in these bags. If you have any other ideas or tidbits or fun facts about the Louis Vuitton Speedy, definitely leave them down in the comments below. I really want to hear what you all have to say and your experiences as well. Or if you think I need to try any other versions of the Speedy, let me know down as well. I definitely would be open to your suggestions in regard to that too. Otherwise, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to this channel. I promise you I will do more videos like this one, including other luxury handbag unboxings, luxury handbag reviews and comparisons, in addition to thinking about luxury handbag purchases for reselling as well. So I hope you're staying safe and healthy with your family, and I will plan to see you again in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.